First of all, I thought I'd ask you about, I suppose, your fondness of the Ulster Club Championship. Obviously, you won one yourself, and I'm sure a lot of endears you to the competition, but you have gone on the record multiple times in your column in Gaelic Life about how much you enjoy it. Why do you take to it so much?
Do you know what? Even growing up before we even got anywhere near it, I think you'd grown up watching the likes of Eric Kieran and these boys, and do you know what I mean? You just, especially them, I suppose, Cross McGlenn were the big ones, but you always wanted to be there and sample it. And we did sample it in 2006. We played Cross McGlenn, but we were beaten in the first round, and then I suppose when we went in our run then on 2018, I just liked the difference of, like, we went to the Falls Road to play our first game. It was unreal, and Carrigan against a team we never played against before, and then I suppose you're into the semi-finals and that kind of then. So it's just every year's different. You know what I mean? We were all expecting this year Kilcoo to come through strong, but then like the Trullick and Scottstown, these boys. So I think it's not predictable. I think that's what I like about it.
Yeah, obviously is her full value for that Ulster Championship. Do you feel fortunate in a way? Because there's teams like Scottstown and whatnot who've been trying so hard for a decade to win just one,
Definitely. I think what stood to us is we never even spoke about Ulster, to be honest. Once we won Donegal, that was our aim. But then I think once we won the first game, we just took it game by game. Whereas maybe teams like Scottstown are setting out and they're talking about Ulsters, and that builds its own pressure because it seems to be very, very hard to do. Like, we were lucky enough to hit it with one shot, you know what I mean? But it takes other clubs a long, long time.
And just looking ahead to this weekend's two big semi-finals, I suppose naturally enough we'll start with a game on Saturday between Niamh Conall and Glen. How do you see it going? I mean, obviously Glen are favourites, but do you think Niamh Conall stand a chance here?
Definitely, Glen are hot favourites, but within the camp I can guarantee you that Glenties are, they'll be relishing this because, like, realistically, Glen are looking at an All-Ireland title. We know that they're capable of it, and they want to get back there after what happened to them. So that's their aim. But Glenties, on the other hand, they're maybe not an Ulster season campaigners, but they've won numerous Donegal titles, and like their squad's just laced with experience. So guaranteed that they'll be rubbing their hands for a shot in Glen.
Yeah, I know Niamh Conall are obviously fierce rivals, but at the same time, you have to hand it to them in terms of their ability to come back year after year after year in Donegal.
Do you know what? Definitely, like, I suppose after they beat us in 17, we beat them in 18, and then they beat us in 19, and after then you can, I suppose, I would say our lads were, if we were honest, were a bit sore the way that we were beating and stuff, but since then, you like you said, you have to give it to them because they're coming back year after year, and against Unans they were written off, they turned them over to win it, and then this year they weren't supposed to win it again, and supposedly they're an aged team, but they just keep coming back, and it's a massive testament to the club and the work they put in, and I suppose the players. They are blessed in a sense that all the players are based at home, and that's a massive advantage, but you still have to go and deliver the goods.
I suppose people talk about their blanket defence and whatnot, but at the same time, any old team can get a few men behind the ball, and there must be more to it than that, Kevin.
No, these are like as you say, like any coach can set their team up defensively, but these boys know what they're at. They know how to defend, when to defend, and sometimes they'll abandon the defensive structure. They'll leave 1v1 on the side and they'll go for the game. They do that. You'll see it Saturday night. They do it for periods of the game where they'll leave their two full backs in 1v1 and they will push up and go for it. So it's not as if they're just ultra defensive the whole time. They mix the thing very, very well.
And what do you think of where Glen are positioned heading into this game? They were made to work for it by Carrigan, but at the same time, Glen have their sights set on an All-Ireland title, and they're on the march again, I suppose.
Yeah, the big benefit for Glen, is the way I see it, is that they're comfortable playing against the blanket defence.
Okay.
It won't faze them. They've done it before. They've done it against Kilcoo. Even 2 years ago, they done it against Unans in the opening game out there in Donald Park. Like, other teams play into the likes of Niamh Conall's hands where they'll rush the pass, and then Niamh Conall get 11 turnovers, whereas I don't see Glen giving them the ball cheaply on Saturday. They'll have to work for every possession that they get.
So do you think Glen will come through it one way or the other, then?
I expect them. When I'm looking at both squads, I'm looking at benches and stuff, and I think that if you're sitting down Martin Regan this week, you've got 6, 7, 8 Glen men to tie down realistically, and can win the game for you on the day. Whereas I suppose Glenn will look to shut down the likes of Kieran Thompson and Ethan O'Donnell, and maybe after that kind of keep an eye on the likes of Brendan McDyer and these boys who chip up the scores. But I just think that Glen have more firepower all over the pitch.
And I know I'm getting ahead of myself here, and I don't want to be disrespectful to other teams left in Ulster, but do you think that there's an All-Ireland title in Glen, given Crokes or Kilmacud look as good as ever, and there's a resurgent Cora Finn and whatnot, do you see it in them?
There is, and experience is massive. They've been there, obviously they suffered disappointment, and you just have to look at the whole carry-on that was going on. I suppose the Derry manager was sitting vacant, and we know how good Malachy and Porter are, and the fact that they weren't tempted to go there means that they have something bigger in their sights for Glen. So it's clearly a target for them, and they are definitely good enough. But I think their biggest obstacle is getting out of Ulster.
Okay.
Once they get out of Ulster, I think they'll be hard stopped.
And just looking ahead, obviously the Sunday's game. I think I read in your column a few weeks ago, like Trillick were up your part of the world, were they, over this time last year, were they, having a bit of a bonding weekend, were they?
They've come, I think it's 2 years in a row now. They've come up here for their team kind of bonding weekend away, and like what normally happens is I would normally take the team for a session, and when you go down there and you're meeting a team for the first time, you're kind of looking to see how they conduct themselves and stuff. And like these boys were out prepping and stretching and doing your band work before I even landed to set up. So I was kind of saying to myself that they're really, really serious about this kind of year, and they had all their county men come down to join them, and they were a real unit. The big blow for them is obviously Matty Donnelly, because he would be massive, especially this game against Glen, when you're looking at the likes of Bradley and these kind of lads around the middle of the field, glassing them around the middle of the field. His experience has been valuable. But another thing about Trillick is they'll play you. If you want to shoot out, they'll go for it. But if you want to play defensive, they're comfortable doing that as well.
At the same time, Tyrone teams historically don't have a great record in the competition. So even just to get to a final would be a bit of a statement from Trillick if they pull it off against Scottstown.
Definitely, I think you look at the Tyrone Championship, and I'm sure you watch it as much as I do. It's dog eat dog, and by the time they come out of that, we were all speaking this year. We expected Gaelic here to come strong, but they didn't even make it out. So for Trillick to get to the final, I think it'd be massive for Tyrone, because then other Tyrone clubs maybe would be looking beyond their club championship, if that makes sense.
And Scottstown pulled off a brilliant one over Kilcoo in the quarterfinals. I know it was a bit of I know he hit Kilcoo a sucker punch, or two sucker punches really, when you consider Cian Hughes' mark. But on the whole, he played brilliantly well, and as well as the established names, if these lads coming through like Ryan O'Toole and whatnot, and have brought in Jack McCarron, so they've been on the road a fair amount, but they nearly seem as good as ever, if not better.
Yeah, I was looking through their team at the last game. I think it's nearly much the same team as we played in 2018. Whereas if you look at our team, there's been a complete turnaround. So it's the same team that they have. Obviously, Jack is a massive addition, because when we were sitting down to analyse Scottstown before the final, we were looking at where their threats were, and we knew that they didn't possess a man who could kick 5, 6, 7, 8 points. Now they have that. So, the likes of this weekend, Trillick's going to have to tie down him. They're going to have to tie down Shane Carey, Conor McCarthy, the two Hugheses. So it just gives them another dimension. Yeah,
and Rory Beggan's such a watchable footballer, isn't he? I mean, he just has everything, and we kicked the point from must have been nearly 60 or 70 metres, and there was barely any backlift or anything. It was remarkable.
You know what? We're all talking about the free hit, but I actually think that score for play was more important, because it gave Scotstown a wee bit of belief, and they started edge their way back into the game. Like he came up the pitch, he wasn't looking for the score, but he backed himself when there was nothing on. He said, "Listen, I'll have a go because I'm able to do it." So massive score.
Yeah, it's funny to think that Trillick might be thinking of ways how to shadow this goalkeeper on Sunday.
Yeah, well, going back again to 2018, we knew that he would come out, and we actually had a plan for him. Once he crossed the certain point, we had a man who would go and tag him. So I'm sure that Trillick will look to do that, especially after seeing what he done the last day.
Who do you expect to come up trumps in that game anyway?
It's a really tight one. I think if both teams go for the juggler, Tralee have the firepower and the pace to cause Scottstown serious bother, but if it turns into a bit of a defensive game and a dogfight, I think Scottstown will edge it. If it's, I've been at a few Tyrone Club Championships. I remember it was one game last year in the final or semi-final, there was a penalty shootout. If it's an open game, Tralee are very, very dangerous. They can hurt you for goals. They've serious pace. If it turns into a defensive kind of a game, I'm not sure they're as good at breaking it down as Scottstown would, especially what the likes of Jack and Said now as well.
Okay, I just wanted to ask you as well about a few comments I saw online about the games a couple of weeks ago, not just in Ulster but the club matches generally. There were a few comments suggesting that because the games were low scoring that they weren't good games type of thing. I saw Willie Parkinson even called for like an average team, but I thought it was very unfair myself, and a lot of the games are very dramatic, and I suppose it's late in the year and everything else. Like, there's not going to be too many shootouts at this stage.
No, like some of them comments frustrate me, to be honest. You could have seen the one Willie called them an average team. I guarantee you, if Tralee play Kilmacud tomorrow morning, they'll give them a game. So, you know what I mean? I don't think people understand how competitive the Ulster Club Championship is, and I'm looking at the Munster Club Championship there, and looking at Leinster last week. To be honest, like if one or two of our teams were in any of those championships, they would have 3 or 4 in the bag. You know what I mean? It's just ultra competitive, and that's why I love it so much.
That's it. No, that's brilliant, Karen. Sure, hopefully we get 2 cracking games. And I suppose whoever wins, it'll set up a good final. Whoever comes through these 2 matches.
Definitely. I think I think Saturdays will be a cracker, and I think Sundays will be a cracker too. So I'm looking forward to it.
Sure. No, that's perfect, Karen. No, thanks very much.